It's Friday, October 10th, 2025. Welcome to the Demi-Semi-Septennial episode of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. That's episode 175 for you folks in the back. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, the City Council addresses infrastructure needs. Could Bay Farm lose its shopping center? The homeless warming shelter looks to expand. Changes in the ferry schedule. College of Alameda upgrades a learning facility. Applications for affordable studio apartments are opened. This weekend's events brought to you by the letter P. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story. On October 7th, City Council held the second of 4 workshops to update the public on over $800 million in facility and infrastructure needs, this time focusing on civic and fire facilities. Included in this workshop, the animal shelter, Fleet Services Garage, Maintenance Service Center, and the Recreation and Parks Corporation yards, as well as all fire facilities. Charles Dellinger, project manager for the city's consultant RRM Design Group, noted that the civic facilities are undersized, outdated, and inefficient. Among the fire facilities, several are not only outdated but are seismically vulnerable. Some facilities, such as the MSC, are well located but require upgrades, while others, like the animal shelter, are poorly situated. RRM proposed moving both the animal shelter and the Fleet Services Center from the Fortman Way area to Alameda Point. That would then allow the Maintenance Service Center to be remodeled and expanded into the space currently occupied by FOS and Fleet Services. Another part of the proposal, consolidate the Recreation and Parks yards into a single facility, also to be located at Alameda Point. As far as the fire station recommendations, Station 1 to be remodeled and expanded, with fire administration moving out of that building either into office space or the yet-to-be-built Station 5. Station 2 on Pacific, Station 4 on Bay Farm to be remodeled. The currently closed Station 5 on Alameda Point to be remodeled as a training facility, and a new Station 5 to be constructed nearby. The $800 million figure is daunting, but Mayor Marilyn Ezzy Ashcraft noted, quote, "There is a cost to deferred maintenance," end quote. Also during the meeting, Council unanimously approved support for a resolution introduced by Councilmember Tracy Jensen, urging stronger local support for the Polluters Pay Climate Action Superfund Act of 2025, California SB 684. Councilmember Jensen introduced the resolution at the request of Alameda's Youth Power Climate Action Organization. SB 684 was introduced in February of 25, passed the Senate Environmental Committee in April, but stalled in the Judiciary Committee. It must advance in January to stay alive. Council unanimously approved an ordinance to adopt the 2025 California Building Standards Codes, along with local amendments addressing liquefaction, sea level rise, and seismic risks. Finally, Council also considered and unanimously approved the formation of Community Facilities District 25-1 for the West Midway project at Alameda Point and the annexation of the West Midway property into the existing Community Facilities District 17-1, the Alameda Point Public Services District. Karen Jensen has the full story at alamedapost.com/news. You've heard of NIMBY, not in my backyard. Well, there's also the concept of YIMBY, yes, in my backyard, a pro-housing group that encourages residential development. The SF YIMBY website, sfyimby.com, recently posted an article that is sure to cause conversation in Alameda. In an article dated October 1st, SF YIMBY editor Andrew Nelson noted that Denver-based developer The True Life Companies have filed for permits to replace the Harbor Bay Shopping Center on Bay Farm Island with a 305-unit residential development. That would mean Bay Farm's only retail center would be no more, replaced by 217 townhome-style dwellings and 88 apartments. This would leave Bay Farm with no grocery store, and if I'm reading the plans correctly, would also result in the elimination of multiple restaurants in the area. The breakdown of the proposal is 255 market-rate apartments, 22 moderate-income units, 12 low-income units, and 16 very low-income units. Parking will be included for 575 cars. Woodley Architecture Group of Southern California, Colorado, and Arizona is overseeing the design. Harbor Bay Landing LLC is listed as the property owner. The Alameda Post will be keeping an eye on this story as it develops. To see the proposed plans, go to sfyimby.com. That's sfyimby.com and search Harbor Bay. A quick note on last week's episode. As the government shutdown was kicking in, I noted some cancellations, like the Blue Angels not being at Fleet Week. I also noted that Muir Woods was closed, as well as Alcatraz. Well, the Alcatraz closing was a short one. As reported by KTVU, the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy, a nonprofit that supports the National Park Service and the Presidio Trust, is ensuring Alcatraz remains open thanks to their weekly donations, as well as funds from private donors. One part of last week's report that does remain true: if you're flying, leave some extra time at the airport. On Sunday, September 28th, parishioners and neighbors of Christ Episcopal Church at 1700 Santa Clara Avenue met to discuss extending the operating time of the Alameda Warming Shelter as proposed by the city. CEC serves as the primary host site for the shelter, which previously had operated from December through March. Under the new proposal, the shelter would continue to open on December 1st, but would remain open until the end of April. Reverend Stephen McHale led the meeting. He was joined by Chris Calandrio, Chief Program Officer of San Francisco's Episcopal Community Services. ECS manages the shelter and provides staffing. Mayor Ashcraft was also in attendance. In addition to hosting duties, CEC has historically provided about 30% of the shelter's operating budget, as well as sourcing meals for shelter guests from a network of volunteers. CEC also provides showers and is in the process of installing laundry facilities. 2 other churches in Alameda rotate as host sites. Trinity Lutheran hosts over the Christmas and New Year's holiday, while New Bridges United Methodist, formerly Twin Towers, hosts for part of February. The budget for 5 months of ECS services for the shelter is $360,000. Of that, the city would provide $230,000. The county would add $60,000, with Christ Episcopal accounting for $70,000. The city is also committing money for caseworkers, along with hotel vouchers for those individuals who are unable to live in a group setting. Attendees voted unanimously in favor of extending the shelter by a month. That recommendation will be passed along to the vestry, the governing body of CEC. Vestry approval is expected. Pictures and the full story in my article at alamedapost.com/news. Changes in the ferry schedule, but there's beer and cider to tide you over. San Francisco Bay Ferry now has the Brews with Views program in its 3rd season. This year's lineup includes Hull Yeah, a foggy IPA from Humble Sea Brewing Company. It's a double dry hopped brew with Citra, Simcoe, and Mosaic. The Far West Cider Company of Richmond presents Personal Fruitation Device Cider, a Brazilian pink guava hard cider made with fruit grown and harvested on their 4th-generation family farm in San Joaquin County. As far as schedule changes, new westbound trips will depart Alameda Seaplane at 8:45 a.m. and 9:40 a.m. for downtown San Francisco. The morning westbound Harbor Bay schedule will move to hourly service in the morning, eliminating the 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. departures. The 10:40 will be moved back by 10 minutes to 10:30. The 11:50 will become the 11:30 in order to provide better trip spacing in the schedule. Full details, including schedule links, at alamedapost.com/news. College of Alameda faculty and students celebrated the grand opening of the 40,000-square-foot new Transportation Technology Center on Tuesday the 30th. The facilities are equipped with updated technology and equipment and consolidates classrooms for the Automotive Technology, Auto Body and Paint, and Diesel Mechanics program. Vicki Dwen has the story and pictures at alamedapost.com/news. The Housing Authority of the City of Alameda has announced that 7 studio apartments at Park Alameda are now available, and a waiting list for 1- or 2-person households to apply is now open. Eligibility is income restricted. There are 3 classes with open wait lists based on income level: 35, 40, and 50% of area median income. Details and application links at alamedapost.com/news. Amanda Laird's All-Around Alameda column highlights parties, paddles, pride, and pretzels. Friday through Monday, the Hornet celebrates the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Navy. Saturday brings the 4th annual Alameda Pride celebration. Ohana Paddle Club invites all paddling enthusiasts to Paddle Fest on Saturday. This Sunday and next Sunday, join Adam Gillett and Dennis Evanowski for our final history walking tour of 2025, Webster Street Commercial Buildings, celebrating the 150th anniversary of Webster Street. Details and tickets at alamedapost.com/tours. On Wednesday, head to Faction for a soft pretzel class with grain bakers. Details in Amanda's All-Around Alameda column at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Here's hoping the Seattle Mariners can take Game 5 of the ALDS tonight, Friday. Brian Wu was left off the ALDS roster with pectoral inflammation. If the Mariners can advance to the ALCS against the Blue Jays, we should see the Alameda Ace back in action. Hope you can join me Sunday morning at 8 a.m. on KCSM HD2 for the Alameda Connection. My guest, Ron Silberstein, the Chief Malt Hustler at Admiral Maltings. You can help support local news by heading to alamedapost.com/donate. Hey, by the way, we're now on TikTok. Find us on all the other usual social media outlets and subscribe to our channel on Apple News. Find the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or simply tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 176 of the Alameda Postcast.